So let's see. Hello and welcome to those of you who have joined us. We can see now that it is 2 o'clock. So super nice to have so many of you here joining today for this session around OneDrive, where we together with also paired up to talk a little bit about collaboration. So when talking about OneDrive, of course, we are also going to touch base a little bit about SharePoint. But anyhow, that is the agenda for today. My name is Sebastian Lennartsson, and I am the commercial trainer for Microsoft here in the Nordics. So together with also, I do these kind of trainings frequently. And if you're interested in joining more trainings, we have them all on the Also Get Ready page, which can be found in the invitation to this webinar. So please join our trainings if you're interested in our products and want to learn more on how to increase your business together with Microsoft and Also. So with that being said, I am going to jumpstart today's webinar because, as I said, we are going to talk about, let's see if the slide works. We are going to talk about, of course, Microsoft 365, specifically OneDrive and SharePoint within that. Because as you know, Microsoft 365 Business Standard is a product that many of our users out there are currently benefiting from. But there are a lot of features that actually can be used in a further extent than they are today. And that's what we're going to look into. Because we are working in a very different way in 2020 and 2021 than what we did in 2018 and 2019. I actually viewed this webinar this morning, a webinar from PwC, where they actually had done surveys now in October telling that 77% of all businesses expect major shifts in how they work in terms of employees not being at the office every day in the same extent as they used to be. And of course, this is super relevant from our perspective, because this means that they need solutions where they can collaborate via the cloud, since they won't meet in the same extent as they used to do. So of course, we do have a lot of customers out there who are currently benefiting from the premium Office apps of Microsoft 365 and who are already using some of the semi-cloud based apps such as Team, SharePoint, and OneDrive. But even though they might use them, they still have a lot of untapped potential, and that's what I want to check into today, but also look into the basics of why they need them if they are not already on SharePoint and OneDrive. Because essentially, it's all about getting things done in a more agile environment and being more efficient than ever before. So that's exactly what we want to purvey as a message for OneDrive. And as some of you know, of course, when you buy Microsoft 365, you do have OneDrive included. This means that our customers don't have to think twice when they want to share something. Because I can actually see some of my colleagues who send me stuff via some third-party app that's online. They Google something if they want to send heavy files. But of course, that's not what you need to do. You can easily send the files via OneDrive. And if you send them via OneDrive, you can actually control the type of information you are letting others take part of, and also manage how they in their turn can distribute the material. Because if you want something to stay within the organization, it's simply not safe enough to send it via a third-party app. It's much safer to use OneDrive as your tool. And this comes included. It's 1 terabyte of the cloud storage that's included in every Microsoft 365 Business Standard license that we sell. So the customer value is actually already there, and all they have to do is start using it. Because if we want to reach a really agile working environment in 2021, we need to work even more on the cloud, but we need to do it in a way that makes sure that our data stays within the organization. Because even if we don't want to really admit it, there are a lot of security breaches that actually happens within an organization when an employee decides to, for some reason, try and ruin the organization's data in a SharePoint or a OneDrive. It's not super common, but it doesn't mean that it's uncommon. It's actually, the percentage is quite high. So just making sure that your data stays within the organization and stays safe is a really big aspect that's only growing in needs. So therefore, I'm going to show you how we can battle that together with OneDrive. Of course, some of the ways is that we make sure that when we share something, we can choose if it's to expire as well. And if the person who shares it also can edit it, or if the person has the view only option, where if they download it, they can edit, and we have to send a PDF if we don't want them to edit at all. But it's just an extra layer of protection, making sure that nobody tries to ruin your spreadsheet or ruin anything else that you're sharing with them. So those are the kind of easy things that you can do by using OneDrive. Because what we see is that we are connected in a whole other way than we used to be. We have a lot of information, and of course in private life, we can see in our apartments, we have a lot of data of everything. But this also transfers into our business life. The amount of data that we process each day, we rarely take a stop and look at how much it actually is. And therefore, it's just super important to think about this as actually being sensitive data. So if I share something, or if I want to collaborate with myself whilst on my phone, it's just not good enough to send it to my private email. We need to have an ecosystem that's completely safe and that integrates and have all the encryptions and all the safety features that are required of our businesses. And one of the easiest and most accessible ways to get to this point where you have this kind of safety layer, well, that is by using OneDrive and SharePoint. Because what we want to do is empower people to get more done. When I'm on the subway, or when I used to be on the subway back when I could travel, I of course could work from my phone because I had everything on SharePoint and OneDrive. And one of the best ways of demoing this, but I've decided not to, would actually have been to just quit this meeting, because I've done it before, and it is amazing how simple it is to get back into the meeting and get back to presenting from your phone. But for the sake of not ruining my reputation, I'm not going to do it for you here today. But if you're interested, please try it. Set up a SharePoint, set up a OneDrive, have loads of presentations on it, do a presentation, quit the meeting, and then access the meeting from your phone. When you press share, since everything's integrated, you can just see the latest documents, files, and PowerPoints that you've edited on your OneDrive. Therefore, just choosing, which will most likely be the PowerPoint that you're presenting as the latest edited, just choose to present that one, and you'll be back on track within a minute or two. And that in comparison to how it used to be, with a lot of hassle if you got thrown out of a meeting. So it's just about the simplicity, the connectivity, and everything alike, making the everyday work so much more simple by using a tool that's already integrated in your Microsoft 365 Business Standard Suite. So whenever you're on a field trip, whenever you end up stuck without a work computer on your vacation, using SharePoint and OneDrive, you make sure that you can stay productive from wherever on whatever. And it's all done via easy accessibility. So when you're on SharePoint, you can just access the browser window and you can use your spreadsheet or your PowerPoint immediately from there. You don't even have to open it on a desktop app. But if you want to, and if you have the possibility to, it's super simple to just press open in desktop app and you're good to go. So those kind of layers just makes it so much more simple to stay productive on whatever device, whenever. But then there's this other aspect, because as we know, security is a big issue. It's an issue because GDPR and other data protection laws tells us to be careful of the type of data that we're processing. But it's not only an issue because the regulations tells us to, it's an issue because we care about our customer data. We don't want stuff to happen to the kind of sensitive information that we have. It's bad for our reputation, and of course, it's bad for our customers in their turn. So what could you do if, for example, you actually end up having some kind of ransomware on your OneDrive? Well, first of all, we have implemented a lot of features that work with frequently scanning all documents that pass by your OneDrive, making sure that your data stays safe on the OneDrive. So before you open any links, it's already been checked for ransomware. But let's say that an attack actually happens, because we got to be realistic. These things do happen. And if they happen, I'm going to tell you about a really neat feature, which is called recovery of your OneDrive. And what the recovery of your OneDrive means is that from any given point within the latest 30 days, you could actually recover your OneDrive. And this means, in extension, that if you have a hacker attack that has happened, well, you can actually play back time. You won't be able to change the fact that they have gotten over some kind of sensitive information, but it's a very simple way of making sure you don't lose your whole OneDrive, you don't lose all of your information, and you can actually just set it back to before the attack happened and make sure that you can continue working from before that happened. Then of course you'll have to look into how it happened, everything alike, but it's just an extra layer of security, making sure that you can stay productive no matter what happens. And of course, as I mentioned before, it's also about making sure that when you share something, it's actually shared in a safe way. You don't want your customer data or your important documents to be up there on public display. You don't want the link to be accessible by whoever for an eternity, but you want to control what kind of information you spread to your customers, to your colleagues, and to those you collaborate with in your business. With that being said, OneDrive, of course, encrypts everything while your data is on the drive, because we can't have it that the OneDrive is easily accessible, and then if a ransomware gets in, that it gets all of the data. But what we actually do, of course, is that we divide it into 63 kilobit bytes each, which are all individually encrypted and safely stored. So in the event of a hacker actually getting into your OneDrive or SharePoint, you'd be safe to know that what they get is of little to none value, because we don't want them to just have everything accessible, and that's what it's all about. And this goes no matter on what device you use the OneDrive. So even the data on my OneDrive on my phone is of course encrypted, and it's just a way of making sure that customers know that their data is protected, because data loss and data theft is one of the biggest issues according to pretty much all of the different types of authorities, like police authorities out there. So with that being said, I also want to mention this very good feature, which is called known folder move. And that means that when you integrate and you choose a folder with your OneDrive, it makes sure that you can actually both always stay up to date. So it saves everything on your OneDrive on all devices, so you always have it accessible. But you can also, if that's a folder that you share with others, you can also in the settings choose to monitor what is being edited and what is being downloaded within that folder. So just giving you this extra layer of security and making sure that you stay in charge and in control of your OneDrive and your SharePoint, so you know what is going on and who has done what. So really neat features. But anyhow, let's say that you have to restore your OneDrive. All you have to do is look at the timeline where you can see the amount of edits. So you can choose whatever point you like from this day and 30 days back in time. And then just taking a point in time before the hack attack happened, and then choosing to restore the OneDrive. And then it just tells you how many changes that will be reverted. But it's a really efficient tool just to make sure that your OneDrive stays safe. So with SharePoint and OneDrive, you of course can work from any device, no matter if it's your own, if it's your daughter's school computer, or if you're an internet cafe. You know that the kind of data that you're using on OneDrive and SharePoint stays safe, because we will notice if there's some ransomware trying to catch an eye of what you are actually processing. But then I also want to tell you a little bit about OneDrive as not being just for the office. Sorry, wrong way. Because OneDrive is actually a great tool for other types of usage. Let's say, for example, that you have a daughter that goes to preschool. Well, I know one thing for sure. They bring home a lot of drawings. And these drawings, of course, they just stack up on the fridge. But eventually, the fridge is going to be filled up with drawings. And what you have to do then is that you either have to put it in folders, or perhaps some of them actually end up in the trash can. But with OneDrive, we also have a great customer value, because of course, with 1 terabyte, if they're a regular business user or like a smaller where they have less data on the drive, they could also put up a personal drive on their OneDrive. This, of course, has to be accepted by the IT, but if they accept it, it's just a great tool of storing your kind of personal things as well. Because if you just scan the painting and put them on OneDrive, you make sure that they are there and you can keep them for an eternity instead of losing them somewhere on the attic. So it's just a really neat feature to make sure that you can save stuff and have them for future generations to come. With that being said, I can actually see that we've been quite quick today. And what I want to talk about today is something that I always talk about when it comes to Microsoft 365. It's called Office Attach Widget. An Office Attach Widget is a widget that we implement together with you, and also if you have an online shop. What it means is that you can excel in how to sell Office as an attach with every sales, because the statistics speaks their clear language. About 60% of all customers are unaware that Office is not included when they buy a computer. This means that they will most likely purchase a new computer with the operating system. Once they get it home, they will realize that they need Office. And of course, this doesn't only mean that the customer journey has been flawed. It also means that the customer will be more likely to go to a search engine, perhaps Google or Bing, and then they will try to see, okay, I need a Microsoft 365 Business Standard subscription, where the search results might end them up buying actually a fake license or buying from a competitor. Each one is undesired, right? So what we do with the Office Attach Widget is that we implement a widget on your own web shop, which reminds the customer to buy Office with their Windows 10 Pro or with their new hardware, whatever it might be. And this makes sure that you increase your sales on attach, and it also ensures that the customer journey is more simple, because when the customer hoovers the logo, they get all of the useful information about the kind of SKUs that you recommend to this specific product, and then with a single click to action, they can just add the SKU to the cart. So it just makes sure that you can increase sales. And from the kind of readings and the statistic analysis that we've done, we can see that the increase of sales is 44% when a partner has implemented the Office Attach Widget together with us. So if that sounds something for you, I highly recommend that you contact Evelina Huang on Microsoft, who will help you. You can also reach out to me and Magnus, and we'd be happy to help you with this kind of implementation. With that being said, I also want to give you the opportunity to, if you want to know more about OneDrive, take a course on Expert Zone. Some of you might already be on Expert Zone, and some of you might not even have heard of Expert Zone. But what it is a great online learning tool where we provide curated information for you to easily access the right type of information that suits your organization. With Expert Zone, we make sure that instead of Googling or Binging some kind of information, trying to find out if it applies or suits your market, everything suits the Nordic countries. So we make sure that if you choose that you're from Denmark, in the settings, we make sure that all of the content is applicable to the Danish market. So it's a really intuitive way to just consume information and learnings about Microsoft products. And it goes everything from OneDrive to SharePoint to server to Windows to Xbox. So wherever you might feel the need or interest to read up a bit of Microsoft information, I highly recommend that you scan this QR and take a course on Expert Zone. There's also some really nice prizes and giveaways if you do the courses. So I highly recommend that. But with that being said, I am going to check if there has been any questions in the chat, because of course you are more than welcome to ask any questions. But I am actually, it was really briefly done by, or quickly spoken by me today, because this presentation normally takes a few minutes more. But please join as well our next webinar. And it looks like the chat, yeah, there's no questions, but please, I'm going to stay until a couple of minutes more. Please ask if you have any questions, just write them in the chat and we'll answer you immediately. Other than that, I would love your feedback on this webinar, and that's easily done by just scanning the QR code here. And then, of course, joining the next webinar on the 26th, so Tuesday next week, where we're going to look into a bit more technical aspect of SharePoint and OneDrive. But other than that, I would actually like to extend a big thank you for joining us here today. And I hope you get a terrific Tuesday and a great start of 2021.